Good evening, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. This evening, little change of pace. I have these minis that I want to get finished up for the Rook diorama. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a mini painter. And if you've come here to learn mini painting, leave. Just leave right now. I will do a very rudimentary job on these. But that's okay, because I don't want them to be the focal point of the piece that they're going in. So I'm really just blocking in some base colors, and then I will be simply putting in a wash, putting on a black wash, and then maybe coming back and adding some highlights. You know, and to be honest, the level of detail that some of the mini painters put into their minis is actually quite commendable. It's amazing, actually. True artists. But I think for the purposes of the diorama that these guys are going in, a really well painted mini might look a little strange, because it's kind of a grungy dust bowl of a diorama, and then having a perfectly shaded, perfectly lit, perfectly high lit soldier guy in there, like a high-end Warhammer type paint job on him, might really stand out and look strange. Actually, it would look really out of place. So, fortunately, my level of skill will let these fit right in with the rest of it. Just trying to figure out where the different yeah, so let's do gray. that. Desert tan there. We'll do just straight up brown for his boots. Maybe grab a darker gray. Let's see here. I think that's my warm. It's warm gray. So let's do this one. Some coal black. These are the porpoise resin troopers, paratroopers, or desert troop soldiers, or sci-fi soldiers that are from Industria Mechanika. They go along with the Rook build from the same. .1/35 scale, which is, I guess, a little, just slightly larger than tabletop scales, 28mm and such. Epic. How are you this evening? Good to see you. How's your Friday been? Good to hear. I'm just working on a couple miniatures for the Rook, that four-legged battle mech with the billboard, that diorama. These guys have been kind of nagging me to finish and paint in sort of this kind of style, and they're just going to be sort of stationed around that thing in that desert diorama that I did. I am not a mini painter, so this is about the level that I'm capable of, which is fine for that particular diorama, because I don't really want them to detract from the or I want them to fit in and kind of look dirty and deserty. So I'm just putting a really rudimentary paint job on these. So I'll just block in the colors, and then I'll use some wash, and it'll, much like the engine that I did the other night on Wednesday, I'll put a wash over it and just kind of, it'll get into all the nooks and crannies and give it a little contrast. So I have 4 of these to do. I'm gonna try to just get through most of them quickly and then move on to something else. Nice. I really tried to get into mini painting, but it's just not my thing. I'd much rather put together scale model kits. The other part of the mini painting is so much of it's done for the gaming aspect of it. Like, you can't play Warhammer 40K unless your army's painted. So there's just a huge, side industry or side hobby to get your armies painted up. And I don't play Warhammer, so no real incentive to learn to paint beyond just the basics. funny, I went so far as to do a zenithal highlight, or sorry, a primer coat on this. And I'm just, don't even know why I bothered. Just blocking it in. I mean, maybe I'll go back afterwards and add some highlights, but let's get this done. I'll finish some of that pinning that I tried doing the other night. Couldn't find my drills. I found my drills, so I should be able to continue with that. Anyway, if anyone viewing has any questions, feel free to ask in chat. If you just want to lurk and watch, that's fine too. Whatever you want. That's the wrong color. What's this color up top? Using Pro Acryl paints from Arizona. Jason from Monument Hobbies makes them. They're great paints, I just never use them. I'd rather be airbrushing. Some little leather straps. Get under here. This is sandy color, I think, again. Oh, and I gotta get the gun for this guy. I wonder where I put that. Oh, it's over there. Just need the tan on the arms. Or khaki or whatever it's called. Just in here. There. I'll let that dry. I don't think I missed any of the little... This one has fewer straps than the one I just did. All right, next. Yeah, I want to wrap that project up with the Rook Battle Mech so that I can take some photos for my socials, my archive. Put a pin in it. And really get going on the Waldo. I might start prepping another kit off stream too, so I can kind of do a couple things of an evening instead of just keeping it at one. You know, just working on like the Waldo exclusively. I could, in theory, work on 2 models just to mix it up. Using a Winsor Newton or Series 7 brush. It's a 3, I think. Yep. think I'll do his jacket. Just straight up brown. Oh, geez, I didn't notice that before. This guy's got like a cybernetic arm. That's cool. Neat. So perceptive. It's pretty badass, actually. So a third, you're saying a third arm then? Or just two cybernetic arms that come out of your back? 4 arms total. Are you a gamer, Epic? Have you been playing the new Cyberpunk? Yeah. Dr. Is it Dr. Octavia or Spider-Man's not my forte. Dr. Ock, right? Doc Ock. Counter-Strike, right on. Cyberpunk's a bit of a clusterfuck anyway. So buggy. You just had me thinking about it because, like, everybody has had cybernetic implants or advancements or, you know, parts replaced. By CP, do you mean, oh, Cyberpunk, of course. Yeah, I play it on PC, so I have at least half a chance of it working right. Thing is, I only have a 980 Ti, which, you know, I was getting by with pretty okay up until Cyberpunk. You know, the last game I played in earnest before Cyberpunk, that was like a AAA, was Red Dead Redemption 2. And, you know, the 980 Ti ran that perfectly. But it definitely struggles big time with Cyberpunk. I got to turn a lot of the shit off completely. I figure I'll upgrade when I get, or once, you know, the 3000 series NVIDIA cards are more available. Yeah, it did. It totally did. Which is too bad too, right? Because you know, the storyline part of it is actually a lot of fun. It's just not what they promised, you know. But I mean, I'm not as salty about it as the rest of the internet was at the time. Although they completely screwed over the console world on that one. Just right lied to them. But I mean, a single player game on it, and the campaign is fun. But I have a sneaking suspicion once that's finished, it's not going to be a very, very playable game. It's not going to be that memorable. Yeah, and then what is it now? Probably a tenth of that. Barely any, yeah. It got derailed by its own hype train. Way, way, way too much. I mean, you kind of see it coming, the amount of hype that was building up for that game. I mean, they created a monster, I think. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like the opposite of the Disney formula, which is to underpromise and overdeliver. They done goofed. It's too bad too, because I really like I like that genre. Well, obviously, look what I'm building. Anyway, we'll see, right? Because the original Witcher, when it came out, was actually, I think even Witcher 3 was pretty buggy when it was launched. Maybe not to the same extent. I mean, these days nothing's perfect. And then the only other game that I keep going back to is EVE Online. That's a whole other story. Actually, the other one that I started and never finished, I should go back to that, is Half-Life Alyx. Forgot about that. Got about a quarter of the way into it and just stopped. It's not so much me, but my son. He saved up and bought a VR. What is it? He got a Rift S, and I thought, well, hey, if you're getting a Rift S, I'm gonna buy Half-Life Alyx, because I'm old enough to remember the hype when all the Half-Life games came out. Well, maybe not the first one, but actually, yes, I was there for the first one. But certainly all the other chapters. And then the disappointment of it never being, Half-Life 3 never being released. But he usually just plays like Beat Saber. And there's some other ones, I can't remember the names of them. But Beat Saber's his thing. He's one of those Beat Saber, savants. Or you watch him and you're just not even sure how he's hitting all that stuff. Phasmophobia. He might have that. Maybe let's look that one up. That'd be fun. I'm not sure he'd be into that. I don't know how. He's the kind of guy who he played about 30 seconds of like Amnesia, or what's the other one? The jump scare one, like Five Nights at Freddy's, and it was like nope. But yeah, I'll tell. I don't think he has that. I'll point that out to him. It'd be funny to watch him play that, actually. I mean, I would play that. I love the horror stuff. How much is that? Oh, that's totally doable. $15. It's early access, though. Does it actually work? Or is it rough? Actually, he was all annoyed because he would play. It's good. Okay, good to know. I'll definitely look at that one tomorrow. He got all pissed off with Beat Saber because they took, and this is just a trend I think that's happening with a lot of games. He was complaining about Fortnite too, how it's not a battle royale anymore. Top seller on Steam for a while. Yeah, I'll check it out. Online co-op. But he he liked the Beat Saber where it was competitive. So if you if you won, or sorry, you know, your opponent could get kicked out, right? And they took all that away, so you know, you can't actually dominate somebody and win to beat them, much like he was saying with Fortnite, how he, you know, he was getting really good at it, and then they made it so you just respawn. It's not a battle royale anymore. At least that's what he was saying. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't hearing him correctly. Do you play VR? Epic?
I'm close, I can feel it in the fire. I see it as the flames get higher. The more we grow, the higher we rise. No, there's no limit, we're breaking through the sky. I'm close, I can feel it in the fire. I can see it as the flames get higher. The more we grow, the higher we rise. No, there's no limit, we're breaking through the sky. Yeah.
Oh no, eh? It's something else. Prices keep coming down on those things too. And what's nice about them now, I mean, he kind of just got in on the last generation with the Rift S. And it depends on a PC to run. But now, I mean, you have the latest gen, they're pretty much completely self-contained. You don't need a big high-performance PC to use them. Now, I'm not sure, like, you know, the thing is with our family, we have a pretty big investment in Steam games. Like a big investment in Steam games. So he likes the fact that I just, even before he got the VR, I had a ton of games that were VR compatible. But the newer Oculus ones, they're it's all, you don't need a computer at all. It just runs on the Oculus itself. Now, I've heard that there are battery life issues. Like, you can't, I don't know how true it is, but a friend of his has one of the Oculus ones, and he, the new Oculus, and he says he can't use it while it's charging. So you can play it for a couple hours and then you have to stop, let it charge again. And you know, for him being a 13-year-old, that's a non-starter. He needs to be able to play for 7 hours. Oh yeah. We never really got into consoles. It's partly my fault. I mean, my father was big into the computer industry when I was growing up, so we just always had a PC. And, you know, we never had a Nintendo or any of those. sorts of things around the house. So I guess just when with my kids, it just sort of carried on. I just always had PCs. I have my own PC, which is a gaming PC, and then we have a big screen TV that's hooked up to the to another computer for them to use. Well, for my son to use. My daughter uses another computer, that my wife's computer, but all she does is play Sims. She just murders Sims. That's all she does. She's remarkably bad at keeping them alive. Don't know if I should be worried.
Sitting at the bottom, you couldn't help me now. Maybe I'm going
I don't know, I think she does it on purpose. Like she's,
so many questions.
you know, experiments. What would happen if I removed the walls? Or sorry, removed all the doors?
Step one, you fall, crash and burn, you'll lose it all. Step two, you sink, disappear into the brink.
Lately, I've been playing just, I subscribed to that, what's it called? The Humble Bundle. I've been subscribed to that for years. And, you get 12 free, games pretty much every month for like $14. They're not like AAA games or anything like that, but they're, there's some pretty decent indie games that I've just been enjoying those recently. Low production value, or I shouldn't say low production value, but they're not like things like Cyberpunk, where they're years and years and years in development. Usually just one or two guys. Okay. Need another color for the... Let's just use metal. I don't have metallics in the Pro Acryl, so I'm just going to use game color. I've played Factorio. That thing gets intense. There's probably support groups for that game. That's a time-consuming game as well. There have been a few like that for me. Of the similar sort of game style. What was that one called? It's that ridiculous medieval. Is it Crusader Kings? Yeah. I think it was Crusader Kings, one of the Crusader Kings, where you could sort of create these like twisted families, where your nephews, mothers, cousins, grandfather is also your mother. Yeah, Factorio, man. I think I actually got that with Humble Bundle. Just do this. Okay, I think that'll do for him. I got one more of these guys I need to prime. Two more actually with the pilot. Whoops. Gotta drop them and break them. So I got those guys. We'll do a wash on those. This. The other game I enjoyed that was similar to Factorio, well, nothing's really similar to Factorio, but there was one called, it's called Surviving Mars. There's one where you're building a colony on Mars that I got into. This is fucked. All right, let's use the game wash. Where is it? Is that one? No. The hell did I do with it? Is that it? There it is. We'll just use this game color wash. Tiny bit of water. Make it a little thinner. Mix that up. And then much like we did to the engine the other night, we just basically put this on. This brush is way too long. The only problem with streaming is you got a microphone on this side, you got a camera on this side. Got no room. Let's use this guy. So this just runs into all the various nooks and crannies and gives it some contrast when it dries. It's kind of cheating. You know, the good Warhammer tabletop painters would paint in all the shadows and all the highlights. Thanks for stopping by, Epic. Always a pleasure chatting with you. Take it easy, man. Have a great evening. See you later. For any new viewers, thanks for dropping by. I'm currently just working on a quick paint of some figures that are going into a diorama of an Industria Mechanika Rook, which is a quadrupedal battle tank. That's all finished. These are sort of just accent pieces that'll just make it look a little better. I am not a mini painter, which is why I'm kind of doing it the lazy way with just some blocked in colors and some game color wash. La Cuevda La Suivade Delphin. I butchered that. Thank you for the follow, sir. Or madam. Much appreciated as always. Yeah, so again, just a quick and dirty paint job on these with a game color wash, and they are just going to go into the diorama proper. That's another one I have done, and a third one here. While those are drying, we might do a little bit of pinning on the other project I'm working on, which is a 1/35th scale Waldo. Industria Mechanika. Let me just zoom out here a bit. This is a sci-fi resin kit from industriamechanika.com. It is a tiny little tugboat type flying ship that is from the mind of the artist Ian McHugh. See the engine there. Who is a concept artist, works for film mainly, but Industria Mechanika is a model company, like a scale model company, which creates kits from various IP off of the internet, pays the artists royalties for them. So he has several models that are based on Ian McHugh's designs. And from Spain in English is The Cave of the Painter. I am a miniature painter. Hey, awesome. I am not a mini painter. I am a scale model guy who, occasionally has to do miniature painting in order to build a scene. But yeah, so I mean, I'll have a kit like this, and then I'll need to be able to paint the mini that goes on it to flesh out the diorama, right? But yeah, so that's sort of what I'm working on. What minis do you paint, Del Pinter? You Warhammer or tabletop? Looking for my reference art for this thing. I can show you what it looks like what it's going to look like once it's finished. Yeah, so here we go. Up. There we go. Yeah, so this is the this is what the kit looks like. Zoom in on one of these. That's what it'll look like once it's finished. These are sort of the builds from the gentleman who made the model at industriamechanika.com. He's sort of a master model maker named Michael Fichtenmeyer. Goes by Fitch and Foo. But yeah, it's this sort of IP of these floating ships, and it's sort of a mixed media resin kit. I mean, you're probably with Warhammer. If you're doing Warhammer, you're going to be familiar with resin. This one comes with a lot of photo etch, though, the brass photographically engraved pieces. So the wheelhouse is all made out of brass photo etch. But all the other parts, with the exception of the deck is a real piece of wood, as you can see. But yeah, so that's sort of what, that's kind of what I'm building, and it is going to go on a diorama like this. And I'll have all of this debris and detritus and crap and junk on it, because it's supposed to look like a shitty old ship. I paint Warhammer, both 40K and fantasy, but I also paint miniature 75mm stories and busts. Nice. Very nice. Are you on Instagram or some other social? Which reminds me, I meant to... It's just a couple settings I'm just fixing here that I meant to before I started my stream. Yeah, that should do it. All right, back to that. Let's have a look. That's some nice work, man. Oh, wow. That's sweet. Huh. Very cool, man. Oh, yeah. I like the busts. Awesome. Thanks for that. I always like discovering new painters, and there's some cool stuff. I was telling the stream before you arrived that I just don't I never really got into Warhammer. Never had any friends that played Warhammer. I did some tabletop stuff, like I play Kingdom Death with my son, but Warhammer has that cool rule where you can't play with unpainted minis, so it kind of forces everybody to try and get as good as they can at painting. I just never developed the skills, or didn't have the time to develop the skills, really. But I definitely appreciate people who can do that really well. I'm jealous. Okay, so one thing I want to do at this point is remove some of the masking tape from the windows. And to do that, we'll pop this out. Get some tweezers. So all the chipping that you see on this is all done with the Thank you. To do it, I used this product. Well, two of these products. I used the AK Interactive Heavy Chipping Fluid, acrylic fluid, which is similar to hairspray chipping technique, if you've heard of that. And I also used this Worn Effects, which is more or less the same thing. So the chipping was used for the parts that are very obviously chipped. And then I used the Worn Effects for this more subtle, where is it here? Get it in camera. This more subtle faded paint look here. And I'm just using Tamiya. These are Tamiya acrylics. There are like windows behind this tape that I need to get out. Might be harder than I thought it was going to be. Do you play Warhammer 40K? I mean, there's a game that the fans must be difficult with COVID, right? With the virus, and everybody's taken a huge break from it. At least a lot of the streamers who I follow, who do a lot of 40K in the States. I don't know what it's like in Spain. Play Kill Team is a little son of Warhammer. So what do you mean? It's like a simpler version of Warhammer? Ugh, masking tape's such a pain in the ass. There we go. They need a little clean, but other than that, pretty good. Happy with that. It's funny, I printed out these, where are they? I was thinking of just the interior cabin of this, and I thought, you know what? Like, if you're a science fiction, you know, future universe or other dimension, you know, multiverse, you live in a world where you're the pilot of a tugboat like this, you're gonna have stuff on the walls of your cabin. So I printed out these tiny little calendar to put on the walls with some of the old 1950s pinup girls on it. kind of fun. Because there is inside of the wheelhouse there is a seat, a pilot seat, as well as a little navigation console, steering wheel type thing, ship's wheel. Oh, cool. Very cool. So it's like lightning round Warhammer. That sounds like it'd be fun. Because, you know, as I said, I don't have much exposure to Warhammer, but I have watched a few games on, you know, on YouTube and those sorts of things, and it's long. You know, it can take a long time. I should look into it more. It's probably something I'd enjoy. But I mean, like I said, with COVID right now, none of like the local game stores aren't open for that kind of thing. Okay, let's maybe put that aside for now, because I want to do the pinning. Get rid of this. All right. Found the rest of my parts here. Yeah, so I have, oh no, they're all over there. So I have these pieces. And so what we're going to do is we use brass rod, such as this, and we drill a hole through here and we glue a piece in there, cut it, and then drill an appropriate matching hole here so that there's something for it to actually, you know, sit in. And we can pin these parts onto the sides. So just let me get my bearings here. So with the hull, because there is an order for these, I've got this one here. This guy here. And then it looks like this guy is here. Yeah. So, easily done. Just a pin vise. Sometimes we need to just make a little starter hole with an X-Acto knife. Just carefully drill in a few millimeters. Need more than that. That'll do. A little bit of cyanoacrylate glue. Clean that up. Just cut it off. Then basically repeat the process on the ship. Try not to drill into my finger. Easy as that. Nice. Okay, let's start the other side. Could use power tool for this, but it's kind of delicate work. Okay, so then on the back, the other side, we have this one on the back. This little guy here. Start the little pilot hole for it. Have you ever heard of creature caster minis? They're close by to me here in British Columbia. They make a lot of, I think, like proxy models for W40K. I have a few of those, but I'm afraid to paint them. I need to get better. You only paint miniatures and like conversions? These guys. They have some pretty cool stuff. Cast and modeling is complicated for me. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I guess they are sort of harder kits. They're not too difficult to put together. The instructions are pretty good. If that's what you're saying. They have online videos that tell you how to put together the more complicated ones. Once I get these all pinned, I'll show you some really complicated kits. That's that plate. Nice. Looks good. All right, so now we have the 2 more on. Yeah, they are. They're really impressive. And I mean, I don't know enough about Warhammer in the sense of how the gameplay works. I know you're not really supposed to use anything except for Warhammer miniatures, is my understanding of it. But I think people use these as proxies, like they're designed to be used in lieu of some of the official Warhammer minis. But they're made here in British Columbia, and they're very cool. And I'm pretty sure you can get them in Europe. Yeah, they have a Europe shop. Oh, you print, you do your own 3D printing? That's cool. I have one too. Just an older, like 1st gen Anycubic Photon. But you know, it still works really well. I use it for lots of stuff. And I have a larger, like FDM style printer, the filament one rather than the resin one. I used to run a business where I was selling 3D printed miniatures on Etsy that I licensed off of people on Patreon, but it became too much of a chore. It's that old saying, you know, don't turn your hobby into something that you don't turn your hobby into a business. Okay, so we need to drill these 2. Thinking I should really have a glove on for this. I'm concerned I'm going to wear the paint off. Yeah, I know all about how long it takes. I have some really big 3D prints that I've done, you know, multi-part things. Like here, I can show you one. This is a great big Hellboy that I did. Don't know if I can even get them all in frame here. Multiple parts, of course. Like the tail was separate. That's one piece. Then the bottom half, and then the top half, and the head is separate. And I have with the filed down horns, as well as the version with the larger horns. But yeah, I printed this a while ago, and I can't remember how many hours, but yeah, I know that feeling. It needs a lot of work still. But and the arms were separate too. No, this is resin. This is 3D, DLP resin. You can see I didn't quite sand can't really see that, but I didn't quite sand I need to do a little more post work. You can see where the supports, all the little supports were attached. You know how it is, just one of the many, many projects that you still have to You print them and then you think, I'm going to paint that, but you never get around to it. I have other ones too. I have a really big Tara Rask, like big, that was printed in multiple parts. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, it came out really well. You know, I mean, there's still always a little bit of work you need to do on it. And I have some other ones like this guy here. This is, oh geez, this is another multi-part resin. It's hollow, so it's very lightweight. It's not solid resin by any means. It's another one that I need to paint one day. One day. What kind of printer do you have? Is it one of those newer ones with the mono screens that print a lot faster? There are these mono DLP screens that instead of like 12 seconds per layer, they'll print in 3 seconds per layer. So you get your prints out a lot faster. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is not 3D printed. These kits are cast. They're resin, but they're cast resin, not printed. And the original masters, it wasn't. They're not really designed in a computer either. They're done in a they're kit bashed together with styrene and plastic parts. The NW machine Anycubic mono. Okay, yeah, very fast. I'm kind of waiting for the prices to come down even a little more on those before I replace mine. I kind of got burnt. The very first 3D resin-based 3D printer I had was the Piopoly Moai, and they kind of dropped the ball, and after it was released, they very quickly moved. It was like a laser-based. Let's change the song here. It was a laser-based SLA printer, like the Formlabs ones. And what happened was the company. It was a Kickstarter that I did for this. It was large, very large format, so you could fit a lot on the build plate. But it was really buggy, and the company kind of decided, you know what, let's just switch over to DLP-based 3D printers. and they left all of their original investors who bought the original laser-based ones, sort of, they just left them, you know, without any support or any upgrades to this really buggy machine. So I'm really leery of upgrading what I have. I mean, the original Anycubic that I have, the very first one, the Anycubic Photon, yeah, it just works. So I'm like, well, I'll wait until I know for sure that there's something that's tried and true. But you're happy with it? It's been a good printer. I mean, I'd love to be able to print as fast as those new ones. That would definitely be an advantage. So where does this guy go? He is down here, like that. Oh, and I was going to ask you, so that pumpkin, those sculpts that you have of like the pumpkin, were they your own sculpts? Do you do the digital sculpts as well? And if so, what software are you using? A little bit of cyano in here. Cut that. Shorten this pin up a bit. Nice. It's going to go right there. Then, there's one more. This guy here. Which I actually haven't painted yet, but let's mount it anyway. I'm doing this kit in such a backwards ass way. Got some parts painted, some parts not painted. Deep enough. That'll do. And we'll cut this. Yeah, when I was printing minis to sell, I was actually a merchant of Artisan Guild as well, so I know them very well. They make some amazing stuff. It never ceases to amaze me how much she can actually create every month. It's very impressive. And very good models. Always amazing. So there's that side done. You know, if you like doing busts, I don't know if you've heard of oh, who is it? He's another Patreon guy, like similar to Artisan Guild. Hang on, I subscribed to him actually. I just remembered on Patreon. Yeah, his name is Ritual Casting. Well, his company is, or he is. He goes by that. There's a website I can give you here. Sorry, bear with me. I'm just trying to find his website. Rafi, thank you so much for the follow. Much appreciated. How are you this evening? Oh, come on. I know he has a website. Give me a sec here. Here we go. So this guy, his name is Ben. He has a Patreon that goes under the name Ritual Casting. Every month, if you subscribe to his Patreon, he puts out a full set of like larger 1/6. I think they're 1/6 scale busts. But I know that you mentioned that you were painting busts. You should have a look at these. Some of the stuff on this stuff is not safe for work, so just be warned that there is some nudity. I'm not putting it on stream, but you're welcome to look at the link. But it might be something you'd be interested in painting or getting STLs and printing them up, because it's all 3D printer friendly. I think all the STLs come even pre-supported, so it's kind of a neat one. I used to be subscribed to a whole bunch of different Patreons for free mini or for minis every month, but then I really whittled that down. I realized I was spending way too much money on it, and went way back on my subscriptions. But I kept him because it's such a great value. Sorry, they're 1/10 scale. Yeah, I hear you. I actually went to school many years ago for 3D design, and I actually, if I spend a few weeks at it, I'm okay with ZBrush. I kind of can rediscover my way around it, but yeah, it is a bit difficult. I certainly can't make anything like what these guys are doing. So for any new followers or any new viewers, we are currently working on the Industria Mechanika Waldo kit. I'll just put a link up in chat here for it. So Industria Mechanika is a small garage kit company. It's one man, operates out of Pittsburgh, and he collaborates with artists such as, in this case, Ian McHugh, who is a concept artist, does concept science fiction work for the movie and video game industry. But Ian McHugh also has sort of a side universe that is mostly, if you go and look at his Instagram, the link is there, or his handle for Instagram is there in that post. He's designed sort of an entire world of airships based on these old ship designs. And so Michael Fichtenmeyer, the owner of Industria Mechanika, has created resin kits for scale modelers to build out of mixed media, resin, photo etch, etc., based on the artwork of Michael Fichtenmeyer, Ian McHugh. So what you see here is one called the Waldo. It's a 1/35th scale, multi-part cast resin kit. Just to give you a bit of an idea as to what it's going to look like once it's fully assembled. It's got a ways to go, but I'm just basically working on the weathering and assembly. It's going to have full LED lighting inside, as well as spotlights, red, green, bow lights. There's a stern light. I run all my LEDs off of an Arduino microcontroller, so I can do some lighting effects like flashing and pulsing or flickering. And it's going to be mounted on a larger diorama that will hold it. And then I have a whole other second Waldo kit that I'm also going to build, probably not on stream, but it's going to accompany this one in sort of a fantasy diorama that I'll build out. Unfortunately, if you're thinking of building one of these yourself, they're kind of hard to get right now. The owner of Industria Mechanika, Michael Fichtenmeyer, has actually been having a hell of a time getting anything shipped in from China. He has these made in China just with COVID and the virus and U.S. Post being terrible. Thanks to Mr. Trump, his business has been suffering. And so what he's actually been doing is he himself has a Patreon that started that is worth looking at as well. I can link that so you can have a quick gander at it. But he's currently releasing most of his designs as 3D designs. They're 3D printable because I think he kind of sees the writing on the wall that the poured resin is going to sort of go the way of the dodo in small scale because of the advent of 3D printers. Yeah, so this is his Patreon. So this is the owner of Industria Mechanika has moved on to Patreon, where for $15 US a month, you can get models, STLs from him for 3D printing. And so his first release, I'll just show you, it's actually really cool. If I just scroll way down here. He's building a modular settlement based on District 74, which is sort of like, it's all done with It's like a sci-fi, cyberpunk kind of world that's all based on sea containers and shipping containers. He's going to keep expanding on it. I'll just put this in chat. There's the link if you're interested. So he's going to keep releasing those. He's also done some like you could do cosplay, or he builds 1/6 scale ball joint dolls. These are just some teasers because of the Otis M, which is where's the actual post here? This is his first kind of major release. So this is a 1/35 scale or 1/6 scale fully posable ball jointed doll type mecha that he released. So you can 3D print everything to build this. It's available in a number of different scales and sizes. Yeah, they are. They're really neat, and it's cheap. Like it's $15, and he's going to just keep pumping these things out every month, which is what's nice about Patreon. It's a good way of doing business if you can get enough subscribers, right? And what's cool about it is he's going to make a base model mech like this, and then as sort of Patreon exclusives, he's going to release different attachments and things for it, like guns and different arms and like a forklift attachment and things like that. So I hope him all the best in this endeavor. I kind of helped him get his Patreon set up with the 3D printing licenses and stuff like that. Just making sure that he wasn't going to get taken advantage of, because you know how it is, right? Where you like Artisan Guild, you know, if you don't sort of say straight up, you know, hey, you're not allowed to sell any of the prints. You know, you need to have a different license. You got to pay more for that. You know, he wasn't aware of some of those dynamics with respect to how 3D printing is done. Or sorry, Patreons of 3D printing STLs are done. So he's all up to speed now. So hopefully, you know, even if you're following and you're interested in this stuff and would rather just purchase direct from somebody, hopefully he's going to get some licensed printers soon. But yeah, he's an interesting fellow and very creative. All right. So what next? What next? I think maybe what we'll do is we'll finish the stern. We'll do some airbrushing. Because I need to get that blue, faded blue on here. So let me just get my spray booth set up and we'll go over to that. Okay. we are going to use this worn effect, and we're going to coat the rusted portion of this with this product using the airbrush. We will use a Harder and Steenbeck Infinity CR Plus. I think I've got a 0.35 millimeter needle in that. Load the brush. Yeah, it's good. I spray a lot in lacquers, so lacquers are extremely toxic. You know, these like the Mr. Color line of paint, or they also use a lot of Alclad. The hell are they? You know, Alclad paint. These guys make the best metallic paints you can get. I'm going to be doing a Mecha in going to be doing a 5-star stories Mecha that's going to be completely painted in this black chrome. This is the Alclad paint. It's just beautiful. It looks like black chrome. It's unbelievable. But it's a lacquer, so it's extremely toxic, and as a result, you need a nice airbrush booth to work, you know, safely. So. All right. So 20 pounds. Yes, it is the Infinity CR Plus, and I'm using a 0.35 millimeter needle in it. This is actually the 2-in-1, so it comes with the, I think it came with a 0.15 and a 0.35 needle. I really only ever use the 3. If you are in the market for a good, nice airbrush, you know, if you're using paints, like if you're painting with minis, you don't need the small needle. They're really only useful for inks and extremely fine paint. Well, they work okay with lacquers, but if your intention is to spray paint with acrylics, bigger needle, 3.5, 4. Sorry, I keep saying 3.5. I mean a 0.35 or a 0.4. So we're just going to do a coat of this. On each side. Go right across. We'll let that dry. Yes, thank you. It is a good one. I use it alongside I'll occasionally use the venerable Eclipse CP or HPCS. And then for larger stuff, I have a Pash Siphon Feed Series H. This guy. Yeah, for any bigger projects, I'll use that one because you can attach a bottle to it, right? So. But I love this one. This is a really nice airbrush. The aperture setting, you know, where you can lock in a particular trigger value. Great. So no point waiting for paint to dry. You have a hair dryer here right by my side that I can quickly dry paint. That's nice and dry now, so we'll do one more coat of this. You don't want to go too heavy with these chipping fluids and things, or the paint just comes off way too quickly. So again, just another quick coat. That. Dry it off. It'll have a little bit of a sheen. Now this stuff is no different than hairspray chipping. You know, in terms of the concept, it's, you know, I could just as easily be using this. I do find though that these AK Interactive products, like this one and the heavy chipping fluid, they do give you a little more, they're a bit more subtle. So if you want a really worn out, really chipped look, you know, if you're doing something in Warhammer 40K and you want these tanks or something and you want to have them really looking like they've been through hell and back, then the hairspray is great. But if you want something a bit more subtle, like just faded paint, like the effect that I'm going for on the bow, the blue part of the Waldo, the Worn Effects works nicely as well. This one, this chipping one, is how I did all the yellow on the Waldo. Okay, so we've got that on there. So we'll just dump out the rest of this. Clean out the brush. A little bit of airbrush thinner. Just backfeed it. Spray it out. And just a little bit of the Vallejo airbrush cleaner. The AK products are acrylic based, so they you can just clean them easily with either airbrush cleaner or acrylic thinner. All right, now I've got my blue for the bow pre-mixed. This paint that I'm using is the Tamiya line of solvent-based acrylics. So unlike water-based acrylics, this one they use alcohol as a solvent in it. It's terrible for painting with a paintbrush, but it's designed to be airbrushed really nicely. So this is just some blue that I thinned out because they didn't really have a light blue. Well, they might, but I don't have the light blue, so. I'll just give it a little mix. And we'll put a couple drops in. Really don't need much. That away. And then what I do is usually a half, 1-to-1 ratio with the Tamiya paint is a good start. So as much thinner as you put in paint. Just do a little ghetto mix on that with the back feeding it. That'll do. Okay. I'm just going to basically spray at the edge and feather it off so I don't have really any blue on the bottom. A little bit right there. Feather it up. Just like that. A little more there. And then on this side, same thing. Like that. Nice and even. Put way too much paint in the brush. Actually, I might make it, judging by what I've got on the model, I might just add a mark to the top. Yeah, that's good. I like that. All right. Through this there. Don't know what that's about, but anyway, doesn't matter. So let's clean this out. I probably could have put this paint back in the jar, but I've already put thinner in it, so. The only hassle with airbrush is you do about 20 seconds of painting and then 3 minutes of cleanup. At least I do. I don't know about you, but I'm a bit picky about keeping them clean. All right, that'll do. Then just a tiny bit of lacquer thinner through it to get any drag. That's just hardware store lacquer thinner. That cleans it right out. There. I always unplug them with quick connect, because if you tip over your air hose, your $400 airbrush is dead. Okay, so now what we can do is come back over here. Vampy Velour, hello, how are you? Welcome to the stream. Get my microphone over here.
How are you this evening? Currently putting together a resin kit from, or a garage kit, whatever you want to call it, from Industria Mechanika. It is a 1/35th scale model of a sort of fantastical sci-fi flying ship. It looks kind of like this. Has all these things sort of on the side. and there's like jet sort of thrusters that go on the bottom. I can quickly show you sort of what a finished one would look like here, just from my reference art. Hang on. So this is sort of what the idea is behind it. It's science fiction, sort of imagine a world where these sorts of boats. Thank you so much for the follow, much appreciated. These sort of flying ships, they just exist and float around, as opposed to being in the ocean. But that's basically the idea behind it. And so this model is from a company called Industria Mechanika, which is based out of Pittsburgh. It's one guy, works out of his house, and he collaborates with original artists to make 3D versions of their own illustrations. So these aren't my pictures. These are like the reference ones that the creator of this model made for people to kind of get an idea, or he usually creates them and then he will do a photo shoot for other people to kind of be inspired by. And if I just go over here, I can show you Ian McHugh. Here we go. So this is the artwork of Ian McHugh. He is an illustrator who works for movies, does storyboard and concept art for movies and video game industry. But he has sort of on the side, there's no movie or video game with this content in it, but he creates this world. He paints and illustrates for this world of just flying ships and flying cities. And so Michael from Industria Mechanika did a collaboration with Ian to actually realize these flying ships and this world in a 3D model that people can paint. I'm just trying to find another one here that sort of is the same. Oh, here we go. This is the actual Waldo, the one that I'm doing. But here you kind of see sort of they're all really junky, which is what's fun. Yeah, world building, absolutely. And I love this kind of diesel punk, run down, dystopic world. It's just right up my alley. Yeah, I can do that, no problem, sorry. How's that? Yeah, I love this dystopic world of, of junky kind of, sky barges. It's fun. So then this gentleman, Michael Fichtenmeyer, this is his Patreon, but he actually has a company that you can order actual resin poured, that they're not 3D printed, they're like poured resin kits, which is what this is. And you can build them yourself. So from Ian McHugh, he has a model for this Wasp, which is the only one, unfortunately, that's going to be restocked anytime soon. He creates these deckhands, 3D, models, miniatures that you can use. The Waldo, which is what I'm building. I also have the Skymark, which is sort of an air buoy, like a floating air buoy. Buoy. I think it's buoy. And then he did a very large one, which I also have and will probably do on stream as well, called the Remora, which is it's quite large. It's about a foot long. That's it there. So yeah, I'll be building all those. That's sort of what I'm working on. Let's go back to this now. Did that take? There we go. Yeah, and so this is the Waldo, at least my version of it. Yeah, thank you. So what I just did is I sprayed, when you came in to stream, I just sprayed in this blue, on the hull. So you can see down here we have the same kind of faded paint down here. And this is what went on before this paint was a product called this. Whoops, that's not it. Oh, I've lost it. It's the similar to this, but it's called Worn Effects, and it's like a chipping fluid. So you spray it down on your model, and then you spray on top of that, and then with a brush, like a filbert brush, let me just find one here. Yeah, that'll work. Brush such as that and some water. You can actually just sort of wear away that layer of paint, because I'm kind of looking for a worn out sort of effect here. So the way that you do this is just sort of dampen it. And hopefully this will work. It's a little bit of randomness to this. Sometimes it works really well, sometimes it doesn't. And then you can just kind of worry it away like so. And you see the paint just comes right off, which is what we want. Let me just dab that out. I've only just started streaming, so I don't have a lot of that stuff set up, but thank you. It'll come in the days to come. In the days to come, there'll be a donate button. I do appreciate the thought, though. Thank you. So there, that's more or less that side done. Then we'll flip it around and get this one done. Yeah, that's coming off well. Not too much. It's easy to go too much. Hey, if you're going to stream right, you know? Gonna just wear this one out a little bit here. Yeah, it's really rewarding when it comes together, distressed stuff. So, geez, I wish I could find that. So, oh, here it is. So I'm currently using that. This is what I put down underneath the blue. And this one is what was used for the yellow to get the true and proper chips. And again, like for that, I just use, well, you probably know what I use. It's if you know anything about AK Interactive is the brand, yeah. Just a rough brush and a toothpick to get the scratches. That's all you need. Yeah, AK Interactive make a whole bunch of kind of like weathering. Like their main sort of wheelhouse is the scale armor sort of group of model making. So they have a ton of products for weathering. They sell filters, they sell oil paints for oil paint rendering, which is like I should have mentioned that actually earlier to Del Pintor. Sorry, when we were chatting, but they this looks kind of. Let me zoom out here. This is really primary color right now, and that and that's kind of on purpose. I don't intend it to look this bright and you know, Fisher Price. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to do a technique on it in some stream down the road of that's called oil paint rendering, where you take you take oil paints, like and I mean like oil paints, like the artist grade oil paint tubes, and you squeeze them out on a piece of cardboard and let some of the linseed oil leach out, so you have something that's more of a pigment. And then you just put little dabs, right? You take a nice fine brush like this, and you just put little dabs of the color that you want, like a rusty color. And then what you can do is take something like, a Grumtine or white spirits. This is basically like turpentine. It's the thinner that you would normally use with oil paint. And you can just sort of subtly, pull down on those dots of oil paint that you put on, and it puts in really nice streaks of grime and grunge. And because you're dealing with oil paints, you can get all sorts of colors. So if you wanted to do rust, no problem, we can do rust. If it's like a hatch like this, and you think, well, maybe there's an engine in there, you can pull down a color of grease. Or if you have a copper patina that you want to do, you can just use a blue or a light green color, and you can get some really amazing effects. And that's all sort of from the Scale Armor group of guys who sort of champion that idea of using oil paints to do that kind of effect. So, and then once that's done, I'll be using just dry pigments to really make it look, dirty. And but because all of those do desaturate the model and the colors on it, I like to paint with a really bright color to start with. So my bases are really bright, and then it'll all get sort of more distressed from that point on. There's an engine module that I did kind of just in a really simple weathering technique. This one here. This is one of those models where Diagram, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Welcome. So these kits are all kit bashed. Like, none of this was designed on a computer and then 3D printed and then casts made from that. Michael Fichtenmeyer, the guy who owns Industria Mechanika, he just kit bashes this stuff. Like, this is probably a carburetor from some tank model or some car model. These little silver things here, I'm pretty sure are tank or tractor treads. And he glues them together and then creates a cast out of it. Now, this particular thing, I kind of half-assed the weathering on it. I mean, it looks pretty good, probably, from, if you're new to weathered things. But this was just painted in really bright colors, and then I just used a wash which is like a wash is a really thin paint that's going to just go into all the nooks and crannies to make it look grimy. So this, what's really funny about this model is all this detail goes in here underneath the deck, and then this goes on. If I can get it in. There we go. And all you can really see is the top through these two deck plates, and you can't even, the light's not even on it, so you can't really see it here. Yeah, and this little part of the engine. So, you go through all that trouble of painting all the detail on this, and then kind of realize, oh shit, I didn't actually need to paint any of that. But you know what? I would know that it's in there and not painted, and that would bother me. So I painted. Do I build mini sets? So like what kind of mini sets do you mean? Like miniature figurines, like minifigs, or I don't know. I don't ever know what to call them. Minifigs. It sounds like I'm talking about Lego, but I'm not. Like I do the occasional thing like this, if that's what you mean. This is for another model that I did, which I'll go and show again in a moment. I need to clear some space for it. Over the Christmas holiday, I built a big diorama based on the Rook. And the Rook is another kit from Industria Mechanika. It's like a quadrupedal battle mech tank thing. Yeah, like a whole background set yeah. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clear off this desk, and I'm going to go and grab the thing that I'm talking about. I'll just be 3 minutes at the. It won't even be that. I'll be probably 60 seconds. But I got to make some space for it because it's kind of substantial. But yeah, when I do these kits, the joy for me comes from making a larger diorama type affair that tells a bit of a story. You know, I come from a background of doing a lot of scale modeling and, you know, in armor. I don't really have any of it anymore. I gave most of it away because you kind of get to the point where you just don't have room for it all. But then I started building Gunpla a lot. And the thing with Gunpla is very few people who build Gunpla actually, it seems they don't actually paint it or do very much other than just put it together and put it on a shelf on an action stand, which kind of bugged me. I like to go a little further than that. So what I like doing is the full sort of, you know, setting for these things. I'm just trying to make room here. And that's sort of what I like it to be, kind of an art piece that tells a story. Maybe not my story, but I'd like the person looking at it to kind of be able to get a story out of it. So it's cleanup time here at the Corvus Oculum stream. So what kind of stuff do you do, Vampy? Okay, I think that might be enough room. Oops, we'll get rid of anything that can spill. Cataract, do you dabble in Warhammer 40K? I see your work with metal and think of all the armor units. Yeah. I don't, to be honest with you. Not because I never wanted to. It's more because just where I live and the group of people who I know, I just never really got into it and didn't really know much about it. Now I'm finding it's like, as I get into Twitch, because this is, I think, maybe only my 4th stream ever, I'm finding that it's absolutely huge. You know, I'm that one guy who's like, Warhammer? What's that? But as I watch streams and people building Warhammer stuff and painting minis, it's absolutely fascinating. And I mean, I don't really do mini painting. Not for having not tried it. I even there's a streamer named Impending Duff who does a lot of Warhammer stuff. And I even subscribed to his Patreon to get lessons from him. And I don't know. I just thought, you know what? I only have so much time. I'm a sort of busy guy in real life. And I just thought, you know what? The joy in this hobby is more in the scale modeling stuff. So I kind of hung up that idea of me doing mini painting and I'm going to just concentrate on doing this kind of thing. So let me just go and grab that other one, and I can show you sort of where those little kind of shitty, poorly painted minis that I just, flashed in front of the camera, I can show you where they're going to go. Mostly dabbled as makeup effects artist in the past, but I focused on learning to draw. Awesome. That's really great. Yeah, I really have a lot of respect for people who do their own sculpture. And, I've done kit bashing in the past where I've used like Aves epoxy sculpt and like the two-part two-part epoxy and those sorts of things, Sculpey clay as well. And that's lots of fun. Makeup effects artist. So you deal with like you work with like silicone and those sorts of things, like the dragon skin, mold making stuff, because that's also something that's pretty cool. Yeah, nice. So like cosplay kind of stuff, I guess. That's awesome. Love that stuff. every time I do model casting as well, like like for resin kit casting. So I have a complete setup where I can do the vacuum gassing of silicone, and as well as pressure casting of resin parts. So I'm aware of it, and when I'm at the store picking that stuff up, I see all that cosplay stuff, and it's just like, wow, this stuff looks really cool. Anyway, guys, give me 2 minutes, and I'll be right back, and I'll have a very large diorama that you can see. Just a moment, okay? All right. I just need to move some camera equipment around here. I also need to find a wire. Here we go. Okay, hang on a minute. Sorry about that. There are lighting effects that I needed a battery for. Okay. So this is the kind of thing, just so you can get a better view of the mech itself. So this is another resin kit from Industria Mechanika. that's a 1/35th scale sort of quadrupedal walker type mech. Timely, thank you. Thank you, much appreciated, guys. So it's all resin. The little railings, and you see the little footholds and things, like what you see here. That's all brass rod that's bent, and the so that was all assembled separately. This kit is designed such that this cockpit here actually will open, and he does give you an interior that you can have it open. These are little missile hatches that you can open, and there's some missiles in there. You can see sort of them a little bit there. The lighting in here is not great, sorry guys. And so it's all painted. This was just a quick paint job, like a single color one. There's not a lot of you know, there's not a lot of you know, extra masking and things that went into this. Water slide decals, and then just the oil paint rendering to get the wear marks. You know, wear marks off of the you know, the little hatch, where the, you know, the commander, whoever, would get out and go down the stairs. So sort of do things like that. Just be smart about where you weather. And then it's on, this is just an art, like, I guess, you know, you can get wood sort of frames from art stores, is where you would put like poured resin art, I guess, is what this one is. But the terrain is just DAS modeling clay. That's all it is. Let's get the camera back a bit. And then the road surface that you see here, I don't want to spill any liquids. This is a product called Vallejo. It's made by Vallejo, and it's like an asphalt or black lava surface. It goes on like a cream, but it's a cream that has a whole bunch of sand in it, and then it hardens up. And then I simply painted it the gray and put the mast in the lines to do the road. These pieces that you see here are just resin kit parts. You know, I recast various wheels and things from other kits and buried them in the sand just to get some dirt and junk. And then the billboard, you see you down in Arizona Bay, you know, lyrics from a Tool song called Anima, where the idea of it is some post-apocalyptic nightmare where California basically breaks off and sinks into the ocean, leaving you with Arizona Bay, sorry. Yeah, Tool, yes. Favorite band ever. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a great line. So I mean, like, the idea is like a housing development called Arizona Bay. Learn to swim. And then I just sort of repurposed. I found some old pinup art on the internet, and sort of, it was originally just sort of this, you know, like a poster of that, and you can see her face, and then I kind of gave her a bit more of a twisted smile, and I extended out the bay to make the whole thing. And then, you know, if you look at old billboards, they're all made out of smaller sheets of paper, right? They're not like the ones you see today where they have just one huge piece of vinyl that goes down. So I did go ahead and I cut it up, and so that it went on sort of more to scale, like the old billboards of the day. I don't know why I was going like with a 1950s sort of vibe, sort of like a Fallout kind of appeal, but with this really modern mech. I don't know, they kind of work together. But this billboard was scratch built by myself, just out of balsa, and you can see the back. This gives you an idea of what it is. So you can get hobby grade balsa wood, and you can do all this with it. There's some graffiti decals. Just tried to weather it as much as I could. And so there are these like shock trooper guys that I also have from that go along with it. And so I just painted them earlier in the stream, and they're going to be just sort of placed around it like that. And then there's also a pilot figure, which I don't know where I put him. but he's kind of this goofy looking dude who's in a sitting position, and I'm just going to have him right here on the billboard with a map in his hand, like he's lost. So that's kind of the end goal for this one. But I'll just show you one last thing. It does have lighting effects. So if I just turn this off, let's see if you can actually see them. Yeah, kind of. So let me change the exposure on this. So these are working lights. They're little micro LEDs in these with 3D printed lampshades just bent on rods. There's an Arduino microprocessor that's controlling the lighting, which makes that one flicker, which you just saw. Yeah. And there's some headlights here. So my idea is to have, like, I can have sort of one of these guys standing in the headlight and it casts a nice shadow. Or you could be passed out drunk like that. And then I also was able to mod the, I'll see if I can just carefully get this in place. I was able to mod these exhaust ports on the back. So they do have a glow effect to them, like that. Yeah. So that's what you mean by mini sets. Yeah, so that's exactly what I do. I love doing this kind of thing and just kind of taking it to a ridiculous degree. Why stop at a simple kit, right? So the only problem is finding a place to put all these things once you make them. Sorry if I just blinded everybody. But yeah, that's kind of what I like to do. Yeah, so I do have sort of a jet exhaust sort of look to them. I actually thought of, and I still might do it, I thought of just taking like a little creme brulee torch and burning the actual the billboard right here where this one is blasting. I may still do that. I think that would be a pretty cool little detail, little touch. So yeah, that's kind of my thing. That's what I like doing. This was my Christmas 2020, my COVID Christmas kit or thing. We weren't able to get out of the house and see our family, so I thought, oh, screw it, I'll just build something. So a lot of the weathering that you see on this is just pigment. Okay, Timely, here, I'll bring the link up for you. Just let me put this thing somewhere. Hang on a moment. Okay. So this kit is also made by Industria Mechanika. Which you can get to here. If you go to that link in that post, it'll take you to the Waldo, which is the little tugboat thing that I'm doing. But that's the site. It's Industria Mechanika, and then their Mecha line, they have links to it. Now, the Rook is unfortunately right now on pre-order. but he should be getting a restock, best guess, mid-year. These are limited run things like this. None of these kits are injection molded. They're not mass produced. They're done in runs of about 50 to 100 units at a time. So what Michael does is he waits until he has enough orders of a particular one, or enough people on the waiting list. Like if you go and look at it, there's typically, if we find one like this one here that says it's in restocking. If you go in here and you put in your email address, Michael keeps track of that, and once he has enough demand for a particular model, he'll actually make the order to the resin workshop and get them made. You don't have to pay or anything. You're not paying up front like you would with some of the garage kit sites like GKM or E2046. With him, it's just you put your name on a list, and once there's enough demand, he'll make them. He's had a particularly difficult year with COVID and the U.S. postal system being terrible. It's just been exorbitant for him to import the resin that he needs. And as a result, he's kind of moved on. He hasn't moved away from this, but he's finding it difficult to restock on a lot of his kits. So hopefully once the world comes back to a sense of normalcy in the next, year or so, hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll get this stuff back in the swing of things and restock these things. But yeah, this is the Rook, is the name of the kit. It's 120 US. It's a really fun kit to build. Really simple, really well thought out. There aren't very many super frustrating little details that you need to do with it. The Waldo, if we go back to that, where is it here? That's an Air. I would say that the Rook is kind of like, from a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of difficulty to build, the Rook is probably a 5. Whereas the Waldo, I would say, is more like a 7 or 8 because of this. If you've never built anything with photo etch, you're in for a learning experience. So with the Waldo, the entire wheelhouse, this part, this entire top cabin is this piece here where I'm drawing with my mouse. And you have to cut it out of that and fold it together and then glue it into the shape of the wheelhouse and cabin. So if you're not used to those sorts of things, if you're not used to dealing with photo etch, it's a bit of a challenge. But hey, you just do it slowly and patiently, and you can get it and make it look good. It's pretty forgiving. If you mess up, you just unfold it and do it again. But yeah, the Mecha Rook doesn't really. It has a little bit of photo etch, but it's really more like, those fins where that were in the exhaust ports. Those are brass photo etch, and to get that effect, I had to do something a little crazy, because normally there's a piece in there that holds all the fins in place that's opaque. It's just another piece of brass, and as a result, you can't really put an LED behind it. So what I had to do is I poured a little bit of clear resin in once I had assembled that one unit, and then once that resin had set, I used my rotary tool, like a Dremel kind of thing, to just grind out to grind away the resin and peel the piece of brass away. So then all of the fins were like perfectly, where's the camera? Sort of all perfectly held up with just the resin, the clear resin, which let me put an LED behind it. So, as you get some experience in modeling, you kind of, you think about ways of doing little tricks like that. But yeah, that's the Rook by Michael Herm. Michael Herm actually went on, he's an artist that kind of started his own company called Techo Toys. These guys here. And he also builds a big line of mech type things. And now I think he originally started doing a Kickstarter where he was going to produce these as models, but then I don't think he got quite enough. He didn't quite get enough people on the Kickstarter, so he then just sort of flipped it into a digital download. So if you have a 3D printer, for €7 you can buy a complete a complete mecha kit that you can print and paint and build. And his stuff is posable too, which is pretty cool. It's all ball joint, which is nice. This is kind of the trend, it seems, lately. Even the guy who owns Industria Mechanika, Michael Fichtenmeyer, he has a Patreon now. He goes by Fitch and Foo on the sort of as a handle, if you look at like Instagram and stuff. But he's doing the same thing because he's not able to get the resin kits in to buy off of Industria Mechanika. He has a Patreon, and so for $15 a month, he's going to be releasing whole, I'm just scrolling down to find one here, entire kits like this that you can 3D print. And what's neat about these is they're all ball joint dolls. They're all BJDs, so you can pose them however you want, much like Gunpla. Yeah, it is. It's really cool. And what's nice too about the 3D printing is he's providing them in like a 1/35th scale, as well as he's providing some larger scales like 1/24th, and I think he's even going to do 1/6th. And he's adding that extra amount of detail to the larger versions, so that so that when you print them, and they're 1.5 feet tall in 1/6 scale, they just have that extra sort of touch of detail in them, which is kind of what you want. It's like if you're buying 3D printed minis, you can't really blow those up to a huge size like the Artisan Guild ones, for say, because you realize that there's really no fine detail on them, and they look too cartoonish. So he's kind of taken that into account. But yeah, so he's an interesting fellow, and it's a great little endeavor that he's got going. And if you can support him, he would appreciate it, and so would I, because I like buying his stuff. So then I think I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon, guys. I'm kind of tired. It's been a long week. I will be back on tomorrow night doing more of the Waldo, as well as maybe some other things. I haven't decided yet. Some other things once the Waldo is finished that I'm going to be working on. Let me just switch back here. That one. Is I have a 5-Star Stories. I have a 5-Star Stories resin kit that 5-Star Stories is like Gunpla, but it's a little sexier and even more ridiculous in terms of the giant robot aspect. So this is a resin kit. This isn't Gunpla. I haven't decided. I have 2 of these. I haven't decided which one I'm going to do. But yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. They're just ridiculous. They're like the most ridiculous, like, who's going to go to war with that? But anyway, they're cool. So this is similar to the Waldo and the Industria Mechanika stuff, but kind of on a bigger scale. There's several. These have probably this kit's probably 200 parts. This is all resin, no plastic. So all of these parts need to be cleaned and drilled and pinned. They don't do any of the drilling or clean, like the sanding and pinning on stream, because it's boring, mind-numbingly boring. And there's a ton of it to do. So I figure people would much rather just see me basically pin and paint. Yeah. And that's another thing. You don't really see a lot of people building resin kits on Twitch. I mean, there's a lot of Gunpla, there's a lot of mini painting, but not too much of this. So I have this one. And I also have, for people who are more into Gundam Universe proper, bump the mic, sorry. I also have the this guy, which is, oh, you can't really see that, we're shit. Hang on. This one's a bit nuts. This is the NZ666 Kshatriya. That's the one. Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn. Actually, it'd be better if I showed you this way. Where's my mouse? Let me just switch over to this. And we'll change our ProRef scene here to load to this guy. Yeah, so here's what he looks like. Fully assembled. So that's about, I think he's maybe about 30 centimeters tall. So about a foot tall, maybe a little more. And there's 4 of these wing shields that come out. Oops. Window. Maximize. Give you kind of an idea. So I might build him. I don't know. I haven't decided. These ones, I know I just got finished saying I like doing big dioramas and things, but I don't know if I will with these. I haven't really decided. It's just that the size of them is already getting up there that, like, when you start thinking, should I put it on a base with something going on around it? All of a sudden you have just an enormous model scene that you have nowhere to store. So I don't know if I'll do that. What will be fun about this one, though, is it's a blind build. There are no instructions with this. It's basically just hundreds and hundreds of parts, and I need to figure out where they go. The instructions that they give you, it's hilarious. So there's that. Oh, here. These are the instructions. These 4 panels. Thanks, China. Or Taiwan, or wherever it's from. Yeah, so this is another one that I might do. That will be coming after the Waldo. Yeah, I know, right? I think I can do it. Like, I've done enough of these that I kind of can figure it out. And it's fun, right? It's like a puzzle. But, you know, and you can kind of see, like, what I did is I've separated it all out into, like, I have a bag of parts that I know is all leg parts, and another bag that I know is torso, etc., etc. But there's always a few little straggler bits and pieces that you can't see in any of the photos, and you know, you wonder, like, where the hell does that go? But you know, I've done a few. I haven't finished them. They're sort of works in progress, but I've done a few Calamity builds, which is like, you know, Luca Zampriolo stuff. I can show you that before I sign off here for real. His website's really slow. Hang on. All right. So there's this Italian guy, classically trained sculptor and artist named Luca Zampriolo, who builds, like, he scratch builds mecha and sells resin kits for them. If we just go to his shop here, and this is just calamity.com, KALLMITY.com. He sells these kits, right? And like, let's look at this one. They're pretty expensive. They're a lot more expensive than the stuff that you can get from, you know, like GKM or E2046, but they're really amazing. Like, they're very cool IP. and content. This is a hackathon. And they're big too. This is like a, it's a substantial sized thing with hundreds of parts and some great instructions. But he kit bashes these all together from pieces. Yeah, I know, right? They're so cool. And I have a few of these, and they're challenging things to build, but very rewarding once you get them done. And I have this guy here finished. Maybe I'll show him. Yeah, the hackathon. I'll show him on some other stream because he's kind of tucked away on a shelf and he's pretty big to move. But I'm surprised he only has the one picture of that. Yeah, he's really big. The Briegel is really, really big. What's the blue one? This guy here is the Schnabel gun. It's, I think, 144 scale, so it's a little smaller, but it's also super fun. Super fun build. But he has he's on YouTube just as Calamity. And you guys, if you're interested in this kind of thing, you should really go and look at it. He's just a wizard. It's magic what he can do. Like, he just has these videos of him making this stuff and sculpting the parts for them, and putting together these amazing kits, and then priming them and painting them, and they're just mind blowing. But in this, it's all kind of Gunpla based. Most of it. But he kind of takes it to that other sort of place that is just uniquely his. Lots of fun. I have a whole bunch of his kits that are sort of just, again, material for the stream. I have the hackathon. I have two Schnabel gun that I'll probably do in a diorama together, and I have two of the Garibaldis. These ones here. And you're probably wondering, where the hell did I get all these? Well, actually, the guy who owns Industria Mechanika, he did a collaboration way back in the day with Luca Zampriolo, and he sold some of his stuff for Luca. Now Luca offers them directly. I won't get into that story. It's a long and sordid tale between the two of them. But Michael from Industria Mechanika sold me two of his kits from Luca. And it's funny too, because the boxes are signed by Luca, say not to me, they're signed to Michael, saying thanks for everything. And then he sold them to me. It's a little strange, but he just took it from the point of view that it's, he's got so much on his plate. Michael does, the owner of Industria Mechanika, that he'll never have time to build these, so he sold them. But I have two of these guys as well, so I might do a diorama with these, but they're awfully big again, so you kind of run into that problem where my wife starts looking at me like, hey, that's really big. Where are you planning on putting that? So we'll see. Yeah. So guys, what started out as a quiet night turned into a nice little group of you. Thank you so much for all the new follows. I stream on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on where you are in the world, it's kind of late night Pacific Standard Time. I am based out of British Columbia, Canada, and this is really the only time of day that I can do this. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to all of you and meeting you. It's lots of fun. I hope to do more actual work next stream tomorrow evening. Drop in if you can. If you can't, I hope you have yourselves a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. So again, thank you everybody. It's been fun, and it was really nice meeting you all. And yeah, have a great weekend. See you later, everyone. Cheers. Good night.